Hey guys, well, Meta is trying something very, very weird. They're trying to poach, out of all people, the former CEO of GitHub. Now, this is kind of a weird play on Meta's part. It's not necessarily surprising, and I'll get into that in a minute. But it's a weird person to try to poach. Now, as I've reported several times, and as the news has been reporting, Meta is trying to throw money at their AI problem. They are trying to poach anyone and everyone to get into their little AI division. The reason being is that Mark Zuckerberg is so insanely upset about where his company is in terms of the AI race that he is basically saying, let's throw money at the problem and hire a bunch of new people. And as such, he's trying to assemble this AI Avengers team, as I like to call it, in order to get these people in and working on AI projects because, well, admittedly, Meta has been falling behind exorbitantly. They aren't in the lead anymore. Their last release, Llama 3, just tanked. Nobody really was that interested in it, and Mark Zuckerberg's upset about it. So he's trying to poach everybody. He's gotten the CEO / founder of Scale AI, as well as investing $14 billion in the startup, and a couple of the employees from that company. He's tried poaching OpenAI employees and current OpenAI employees. He's poached people from Google. He is trying to throw insane amounts of money at the problem. And this is a weird one. I'm going to be honest. I can't quite see why. So we're going to go ahead and cover it in today's video. Let's get right into it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and read this article by Reuters. It's kind of a short article, but there's some things I want to cover here because they're very strange. So Meta is in talks to hire former GitHub CEO Nat Friedman, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, I'm sorry if I butchered it, to join AI efforts, the information reports. So Meta Platforms is in talk to hire the former GitHub CEO to join the Facebook parent company's AI efforts. So basically, that's what they're doing. The article is very, very vague on it. They're basically just saying, hey, Meta wants this guy. But the thing I can't quite seem to figure out, and Meta didn't respond to Reuters' request for comment, that makes sense, and, well, it's weird. Now, here's who this guy is. If we're gonna go ahead and get into specifics, here's who this guy is. This guy, Nat Friedman, was the CEO of GitHub for a time being, at least from 2018 to 2021. He was the former chairman of the GNOME Foundation, which is a nonprofit that makes a very, very popular piece of software for the Linux operating system, or operating systems. That's a whole other story. If you know Linux, then you know what I'm talking about. And is currently a board member of something called the ARC Institute, and is an advisor on Midjourney, which is interesting. It's kind of notable. He's also known for some old stuff at Novell. He's got quite the portfolio. He worked at Novell for a while because he co-founded a company that basically made this sort of I don't know, it's some kind of like software for the GNOME platform, I don't know. But he made some kind of software. It got bought by Novell, which used to be a very, very big company, and technically still is, because it still exists, sorta. I could probably make a whole video on the history of Novell. It's weird. It's about as weird as the history of Xerox, if you remember them either. And basically, he was pretty notable for that. He hosted a podcast at one point. He founded a company that you guys might be familiar with if you've ever done mobile development. He founded Xamarin with one of his friends. Now, Xamarin is defunct. It doesn't really exist anymore, but it was a Microsoft-owned software company that basically let you make cross-platform applications. So you could go ahead and code something in Microsoft's programming language called .NET, and have it work on, Android and iOS. So you could go ahead and make one app and distribute it to all the platforms, and it would work perfectly. So, alright, that's very, very notable. And then, what his biggest thing yet is that when Microsoft acquired GitHub, Microsoft basically said, alright, here you go, Nat, and gave him GitHub. And he became the GitHub CEO. He was previously a Microsoft corporate vice president and then became the CEO of GitHub. And, well, he did a pretty good job. And one of the key things that he did was introducing Copilot, which is probably why Meta wants him. He doesn't have any insanely direct involvement with AI. He's not necessarily on the board of, he's not on the board of, Claude or OpenAI or anything. He's an advisor to Midjourney, and he introduced GitHub Copilot into the scene, and that is a very popular AI tool with coding development. It was with programmers who want to integrate AI into their programming workflows and whatnot. And I can kind of see where Meta is going with this. But on the forefront, when you look up this guy, you can't really quite see his involvement with AI. He occasionally has dabbled in it here and there, and one of his partners that he has worked with before also runs an AI fund that Meta is also interested in. But on the forefront, you can't quite tell that this man is involved with much in the AI space. Everybody has some involvement in the AI space now. If you program, you've probably touched it at least at one point or another. If you're like a notable programmer anyways, you have you've dabbled with it at one point or another. But on the forefront, you couldn't tell that he's super duper involved, except for that key thing where he introduced Copilot into the scene, which is probably why Meta wants him so bad, because he's the guy who brought Copilot into existence, and Copilot is one of the most popular coding solutions for programmers. And part of the reason for this is because it's integrated directly into GitHub. If you don't know what GitHub is, and for those who aren't technically inclined, I will try my best to describe it as easy as I possibly can. GitHub is basically just a place where you can go ahead and create, store, manage, and share code. That's the whole point of it. It lets you track revisions as time goes on, so you can figure out what changes have been made to your code base. You can compare those changes. It's great when you're working with multiple developers. So let's say you have a team of 20 and you need to collaborate on the same project. It has many tools to make that as easy as possible. Anybody who's touched programming has at least at one point or another touched GitHub, and even if you haven't touched programming, it's possible that you've seen GitHub at one point or another because it's just that popular. It has a whole host of features. It has bug tracking, feature request system, task management, wiki system. It does the whole 9 yards. If you're making a software project and you want to manage the code base, distribute it out to your users, have a web page, yada yada, it does it all. It does it all. And it's a very good piece of software. And the reason, in my opinion, as to why GitHub Copilot was so successful is because it's something that so many developers already use. Whether or not you're doing it as a hobby and you're making open source software or you're working for a company, you probably use GitHub. A good chunk of Fortune 500 uses GitHub because it's just that good. And GitHub Copilot, well, it's AI integrated directly into the platform that so many programmers already use. They're just going to use it because it's right there. They already have the user base and they'd be willing to use something like this, so they just added the feature and ba-boom, it worked. So that's probably part of the reason why GitHub Copilot is so popular in the first place, is because the user base was already there. And Meta was saw the success of this and was like, I want to hire you. And, well, clearly, they're hiring this guy, or at least they're going to try. There's no real confirmation as to whether or not it's actually happening yet. Again, they're in talks, so whether or not this actually happens is to be determined. But if it does, Meta might actually have a fairly key player on their team. It's definitely a little bit of an oddball one, because it's not one many people know of, and admittedly, I didn't fully know him at first, but I can kind of see where they're getting at with this. It's a little confusing, but if you dig into it just a little bit, it makes a bit more sense. That is about it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe. Take care, you guys, and remember to stay safe out there.